Welcome to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sports. This is the number one place for all your fantasy content. We do the research, so you don't have to. But wait, so you don't play fantasy? We have you covered with all your F1, IPL, and UCL content. So head on over to the Fantasy Pavilion YouTube page, like, subscribe, stay connected with us. We have all the content you're looking for. Fix that team though, and do better. The last year you were doing shaky. But this year we're doing better. We're doing better this year.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sport F1 preview show. And of course, we're here to preview the Chinese GP Sprint Weekend. Exciting times. I always love a sprint weekend. I am not here alone. I am joined by Mike and, of course, Ismail. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Nice, man. It's sprint weekend. What kind of lackluster? What kind of, I don't understand, bro.
You see, you don't understand. Sprint means two things, right? One, could have a lot of disappointments in terms of points. And two, could have a lot of triumphs in terms of points. So you gotta keep it in the mid. You can't be too excited for it.
No, I don't want to hear that. Mike, sprint weekend, right, Mike?
I am quite excited, but not so much because it's a sprint weekend, but more so because it's the Chinese Grand Prix. We haven't had this race since 2019. I personally love the track. It's one of those exciting tracks. So I'm excited for the Chinese Grand Prix because it's the Chinese Grand Prix, not because it's a sprint weekend.
Right, and of course, for this time in a very long time, we have representation from a Chinese racer from China. So big up Guan Yu Zhou. I hope we wish him the best. The first time, of course, this introduced was 2004. So it's been a while, but it's a long, as you said, it's been a while since we've had the race.
Yeah, the last race would have been 2019, so pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So
yep. Happier times, right? And of course, it's the first sprint of 6 for the season. So I'm happy, right? Extra points, no waste time qualifying, just one free practice, bam, sprint, bam. I'm saying qualifying, but free practice, no such extra free practice. So one free practice, then we have the sprint qualifier, the sprint, and then the GP qualifying, and of course the race as usual on Sunday. I want to thank everyone for viewing. All those on Twitter, don't forget to show some love. Head across to the YouTube section, drop some likes. We need it. Help us to keep the channel alive. All right. So, of course, we are here to do fantasy and, of course, talk about the race. So, let's take a quick look at our team. And then, of course, we'll preview the race and talk about the track and whatnot and whatnot. So, let's just take a look at our team thus far. So, given what we know now, when we, for the noob like me, still learning F1, but of course applying my fantasy pedigree to it, Michael and Ishmael. When I hear the word sprint, most times the circuits that are used for sprinting are the quote-unquote optimal, I don't want to say best, but optimal for overtaking. So with that in mind, I'm going to try to use that while I'm picking my players and, use that to influence my decision making, right? So let's stop me for talking nonsense, Michael and Ishmael.
Nah, you're good.
Right? But I will so I'm going to let you all take the floor. But of course, this is our team so far. So based on what I just introduced, I'll let Ishmael go first. This is our team. Are these guys set and ready? Now, of course, we didn't have not China in a while, but are these guys set and ready? In your mind, Ishmael, what does this team need for China, for the China's GP?
All right, so I don't have too much issues with these players except for anything to do with Williams right now. They don't seem to be in a good place. Other than that, everything is fine. However, I would probably, if this was my personal team, what I would do is say, you know what? Charles Leclerc is doing good. He's doing very good. But you know who's doing even better? Carlos Sainz. And the difference in price point between Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz is not that much. So it's not that they can really do much with it. But it's like you could switch them in and out at this point based on who you think will do better in the race itself. So between Albon, Yuki, and Nico, you can't really do too much there. There's not much to be done. Maybe we could tinker with Mercedes, but there's not really much of an option besides going down in terms of like Aston Martin or something a bit lower in terms of points. So Mercedes RB I would say is fine for now. But the only one I would depends is just personally for me, Charles or Sainz. One of the two. And I still deciding who I want right now. Come back to it now.
All right, cool. Hey, big up from Capil. Thanks for coming through. Talk to me, Michael.
I agree actually with the opinion of putting Sainz in. Sainz has been performing really well. I think I heard somebody say what they should have done was threaten to take away his seat much earlier. Maybe he would have been performing a lot better earlier on. Right. But I definitely say take out Charles, put in Sainz. And one thing to note, we have not raced in China with these new cars. So we do not know how they're going to perform as it relates to the drivers getting a feel for it and such. So I definitely this weekend want to depend on quote-unquote experienced drivers who have driven here before. Alex, so of any team that we have, everybody has driven here before except Yuki, at least in a Formula 1 car.
Okay.
So I would say you could keep Alex. So based on just for the level of experience, I would take out Yuki, take out Charles, put in Sainz, and then in place of Yuki, put whoever we could afford. Or if it is you want, I might take out Mercedes and put in an Aston Martin as it relates to car, and then you get a little bit more money to spend on a driver who may be a bit more experienced, like an Alonso or something like that.
Right. So just want to point out two things. We only have 2 free transfers, if you want to call it that. So there's only so much you can do if you either switch the constructor and Yuki, or you do Sainz and somebody else.
Yeah, but I would do Sainz and somebody else, or Sainz and a constructor.
Probably Sainz and a constructor, but for the price point, Yuki is the second thing, is that you do already have more drivers who performing right now around that price point.
I mean, Trubey also doubling up on driver and car right now. So by having RB already getting Yuki points, and Danny, if he gets any points. So you could safely take out Yuki and put in somebody else, because he'll still pick up Yuki points with having RB.
No, I want to interject there. Kapil said something there, and this is something that, of course, we try to avoid when we play in FPL. Sideways. Does it make sense to swap Charles and bring in Sainz? Why not hold on to Sainz and save that for another move, or at least keep them both? See if we could bring in Sainz. I know it might be tricky because of price, but drop Charles and bring in Sainz, same F1, same Ferrari, or maybe if we so want Ferrari, bring in the constructor and get rid of Carlos and then try to use that money for someone else. I don't know. Just asking.
I mean, honestly, why I would say Sainz is because he's been performing really well. He seems to have a handle on the new Ferrari. And in a sprint weekend where it's 2 sets of points, it is definitely a weekend to have the quote-unquote better driver on the team. Especially true, as you said earlier, it's a overtaken track. So there's a hairpin that is famous for dive bombs. Especially from Danny Rick, but I don't know if he will be able to do it. I would love to see him. It will bring back a sense of nostalgia. But China is one of those tracks where you can really fight for position and really race. So I would want a driver who's not afraid to fight. Not to say that Charles isn't, a driver who will fight, but I think honestly this wrong. Sainz is fighting for his seat, not at Ferrari, but fighting for a seat. So he is pushing himself to the limits. So I think he's gonna really perform, and at the end of the day, you can't go wrong with either of them. The only way you'll get screwed is if the Ferrari does a Ferrari thing and blow up on like something like that. But I don't see that happening right now. It's a bit too early in the season for that. Knock on wood. So yeah, I personally think Sainz is a better pick. Max. So the thing with a sprint race and thing is, as I said, it's all about the overtaking this weekend. So as much as you actually want a driver who might finish first, you could have a driver who might be able to finish in the top 10 or the top 5 and then pull those overtaking points as well.
Yeah.
Max is not going to really get any overtaking points because he's probably going to start at the front and finish at the front. So, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Capilas. Yeah, higher upside the driver this week. I mean, yeah, because Yuki could pull some decent overtaking points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could leave the team as is and just take out Charles for Sainz, or do Charles for Sainz and, as we said, a constructor. Because at the end of the day, Yuki has been performing really well as well.
All right, no problem.
At the same time, we could also just leave Charles and ignore Sainz for now. It was just a suggestion because, to me, if Sainz was in all the Grand Prix of the season, he would have been second in the
drivers, correct?
Drivers. And he probably may have even been very close to first, if not, maybe, who knows, maybe he would have been up there. But Charles, for me, that's what I was going to say. Charles, for me, is probably going to qualify very high. Sainz may get a little bit more overtaking points and stuff in the sprint and in the race itself. So I have no problem leaving it. I have no problem changing it. It's just something I brought up because Sainz have been performing. Not that we very far into the season and we say, oh, well, it's 10 races and they, all performing like 5, 10 races. But just the gut feeling I tell you, I get from the beginning of the season, Carlos is here to do it. He ain't here to play. All he playing is when they record on social media. After that, when he put on that to drive, no playing.
Business. No. What about, so it's a sprint. What about any chip strategies? Do we want to use any chips for this team too soon? No, forget it.
I think it's too soon to use it. Some people are going to gamble and use it on Max anyway to try and boost their points because, I mean, it is a sprint weekend, so you're going to get 2 sets of points winning a race. So, I mean, it would be safe to do, but I think it's a bit safer to do it a little later on in the season. Because at the end of the day, this is the first sprint race of the season. Let's see how it plays off. And you have 5 other options to use to use your chips for a sprint weekend.
Not only that, but this is a track that they really haven't driven on. So when I say driven on, any new car, plus they haven't driven on it in a while. Plus, I think it'll need to get rubber down as well, right? So it's something that you probably also want to wait later in the season because of those things as well. But what you may want to consider is you have a couple drivers driving it for the first time. Plus, you have all the drivers driving in it for first time in a while. Maybe we consider the no negative chip. Something to consider. Personally, I wouldn't use it right now.
Right.
But there isn't a bad race, I would say, to use it in. Like, there's no bad time to use it in. If you get a good feeling now you want to use it, go ahead. There's a few races where there will be, drivers notoriously not finishing the race, meaning that you usually finish with like 18 or 16 or something, so you can use it on one of those races. But given the combinations, this wouldn't be a bad race to use it as well.
I like that shout. I just want to bring up that. Hold on. I like that shout. I think that's a very good shout. I was even thinking the Limitless, but that's not a bad shout as well. That's a solid shout, especially where or anything could happen and there's no especially with no this sprint is literally just a shootout straight to the end.
Yeah.
Definitely not a bad shout.
Because there have been accidents. 2-in-1 is sometimes a place you'll get incidents because it's not necessarily a very high braking corner. So you have all 20 cars going into this corner with a fair amount of speed, because it's not to say it's a hairpin or it's something with a lot of heavy braking. It's a very long right-hander. So I would definitely say the no negative is probably a good shot, because you could have a couple accidents, especially from the younger drivers who may not be accustomed. They mistake the braking point and then boom.
Or you could have like Charles coming down to make the corner and then Russell dive bombing and going straight into him. You know, things could happen.
No, I realize you mentioned experience, right? So Lewis Hamilton, is he a good shout for this race? Not necessarily our team, just in general. Is he a good shout?
Yeah, definitely. He won the last one.
Mm-hmm.
He won 6 of them actually. So definitely it's 6 or 7 of them he's won. So he's definitely very familiar with the track. As I said, what is gonna be the real differentiator for all of them is the car. How is that track performs with the ground effect cars. But I don't see it being an issue in the sense that the cars will not perform. So I definitely think experience can play a part, but it is at the end of the day, we can't say experience, because driving the car around the track is one thing, but it's not to say that the drivers wouldn't know the track. They will spend hours and hours in the simulator racing the track, especially the younger ones who would not have ever driven the track. They would have definitely put in a lot of hours in the simulator to get a feel for the track. So I think definitely free practice 1 is something very important to watch, just to see how the cars are performing, or which cars are performing and which are not. Because the teams wouldn't have any data to pull, okay, cool, this is probably the setup we should go. So a lot of people are going to be playing a game where there are 2 cars during free practice 1 to see what is the setup for them to use. Yeah. So it's definitely FP1 is one to watch, because it's going to have a lot of strategy as well as trying to figure out the car.
Now, Caps bring up a very good point here. Charles, more popular for driver of the day, extra 10 points.
Yeah, so I was going to address that, right? And that is something to consider. He is slightly more popular in that, yes, being popular would get you towards driver of the day, but you also have to do something. I feel like it while it's fan based, it feels slightly fair in that if Max win, okay, well, Max is not going to get it. Somebody else is going to get it. But it usually goes to somebody who does a lot of overtaking or
has actually performed in the race.
Right? So popularity has some parts to do with it, but not entirely. What I would say is, in this era, what I've seen is you have Max and Checo 1-2. Beyond that, whoever made the next part of the podium usually gets it, or somebody who does a lot of overtakes. So whoever you anticipate to be number 3 on that podium, or whoever you anticipate to be within the points that you think might qualify as well, one of those 2 might be the ones to get a driver of the day. And you never know, people might give the home advantage driver of the day. That usually happens as well.
Yeah, that would be cool. But of course, he has to do something to deserve
it. He has to get all points. If he get 10th, get it for sure.
That's not a bad shout. I will take that. And of course, he could get 50% vote for your driver, and that could help too. We used to try that sometimes, Michael.
when Alonso, Island Bear.
When I wanted Alonso to win. So, Michael, if you can, I have the track up. Just give us a quick preview now of what to expect. Pull it up now, sorry. Of what we could expect.
Right. So I went and watched a few laps just to refresh myself of the track, because it's been a while. So you start off on the main street and it goes into 1, 2, and technically that right hand, like that two is very long and then into 3. So
Right.
there isn't a lot of braking. It's more like a kind of lift and coast through 1 and 2. So they were going to be carrying a lot of speed. That's why I said that is a place whereby you can have accidents happen. I think in 2019 there was an accident with Danny Kvyat, and he went into Lando Norris, which was his actual first Chinese Grand Prix. So definitely 1 and 2, it's pretty quick, especially in these ground effect cars are supposed to have a lot more downforce, so they'll be carrying a lot of speed, barely any kind of braking. Double brakes into 3. 4 is flat out, 5 is barely a corner, so it's going to be flat out. 6 is the beautiful corner where you're going to have some people trying a dive bomb there. And sometimes it works. So 6 is an overtaking point.
Right.
7 is flat. 8 is near flat. Not heavy braking, but braking into 9. Around the left hander. 10, a good bit of braking into 11. You wouldn't really see any kind of overtaking there. And then we go right through 12 and 13. That is flat out. And that back straight is amazing for overtaking. Even if it is we don't have the RS, people can pick up a slipstream and ride it straight down to 14. So that is a pretty long straight. Like I watched it, and the cars will be in 8 gear, right on the limiter pushing. So you're gonna see that speed trap. I am expecting to see speeds in excess of 300 kph this weekend. Heavy braking into 14, that right hander. That is the hairpin, that beautiful hairpin that you are going to get people dive bombing into coming down that straight. And then we go right through 15. It's pretty quick and barely any kind of brakes. And then 16 is a really quick 90 degrees left hander. And then you're back on the main straight. And as I said, they're going to just power it down back into 1 to try and carry as much speed through 1 and 2.
Now, who, besides the obvious, your Red Bull and blah blah blah, who have the best straight line speed so far, based on what you've seen so far?
I mean, well, as you said, Red Bull for sure the top there. I think Ferrari is not too far behind them as it relates to straight line speed. McLaren as well. I think I saw somebody had crazy quick time. So that's the Williams. Though it is not reliable, it does have a lot of straight line speed. When it is, they can just do a really straight run. So you might see some speed there. But one thing I want us to note, the fastest lap record is still held by Michael Schumacher back in 2004. And we've had this race all the years through since 2019. Still nobody has been able to crack that thing. So I think we will see that lap record change this year. I think we might get a lap maybe, or the laps might average around the 130. Maybe the pool might hit a 129. But it is interesting to know that he still holds that lap record from 20 years ago. So look at that, 20 years ago, and he still holds the lap record. So it's gonna be really interesting to see that change this year and what exactly we will get as our fastest lap of the race.
What yeah, go ahead, Ismail.
To note, Haas straight line speed this season so far, I don't think has been the worst. So they have a little shout for them. Aston Martin obviously is up there as well.
Yep.
I think Alpine would be the ones that not performing this season too much. You have Pick not performing too much.
I'm constantly seeing trade memes of Alpine on Twitter. They are dogging them.
Yeah, terrible.
Right, and then I think RB, while Yuki is performing well this season, their straight line speed is not the best. So those are like a few of them. Just if you're looking at lower field battles, look at the ones who might have a little bit better straight line speed. What I would say here for a track like this, I think tire deg is also something to look at, right, Michael?
So definitely because the harsh nature, some of the corners, especially 1 and 2, those could take a lot out of the tires, especially the outer, so the left tires, they take a beating. But something I just thought about, because of that long back straight, if anybody suffering with porpoising, they are going to catch hell on that back straight and on the mean straight to some extent. So definitely anybody struggling with porpoising right now, which is not a lot of teams. I know Mercedes has a slight issue with it at higher ends of the top speed. But I now studied, especially with those cars, porpoising could play a part in that back straight, and that is gonna do is gonna make certain teams want to use a lot more height, right? Which will mean they will lose speed through the faster corners because they wouldn't have as much downforce at slower speeds. So definitely that's something to note. So if it is, your team they suffer with porpoising, that back straight is gonna make them want to race that car, and they're gonna just lose performance because of it. So I honestly think Red Bull will do really well simply because porpoising has not really ever been an issue for them, and they're able to ride the car pretty low. So they're definitely gonna maximize the use of that back straight for sure.
Yeah, and also what I'd say is, just keep in mind the last race that we had. In that we had a few incidents where drivers started with 3 alongside each other going into 2, and there were some incidents, and I think this track kind of allows for they want to start off with a lot of them alongside each other, and then there's fast corners, so it's a bit difficult to squeeze into the corners as well. So just a note.
No, I'm glad I brought up the deck, because my next question was going to be what you predict the tire strategy will be. What 2-stop, 1-stop, 4-stop? What we looking at for this one?
Honestly, I could see people pulling off a 2-stopper, but most people will try for a 1-stop. But definitely you have the chance of a safety car, virtual safety car. It's in those scenarios, then for sure they will run a 2-stopper if they can. In the past, they've run 1-stops, and they will just struggle to finish with tires at the end. In 2018, that happened to Mercedes. They did run a 1-stop, and Red Bull was able to benefit from a late safety car, or a safety car around 36 laps, I think, and putting Daniel and Max on fresh tires. They were able to go on and challenge for seconds and such. So definitely, based on how it is they see people performing, soon as they get a safety car, virtual safety car, everybody is going to try and dive into that pits for tires because the deck is going to be high. So, but people are still going to try to do a 1-stopper. More than likely they will start on mediums and try and get it to run as long as possible. Maybe somebody might try, maybe one of the slower teams might try to start on the hards,
right,
and try and go as far and as long as possible, benefit from a safety car, get a shorter stop, and then put on softs or mediums, and then try and push to see how far they could reach. But I see most teams trying to run a 1-stop.
So going back to the fact that this is a sprint weekend, there's a coin with 2 sides, right? So one side is that we're going to have less practice, so there's less data gathering to move into qualifying, to move into the sprint, to move into the other qualifying, to move into the race.
Okay.
So teams may not have as much data as they usually want to have to go into that type of traditional race weekend. On the other side of the coin, we go into the little that we have into a sprint, qualifying sprint. Once you reach into the sprint, it kind of gives you an idea with tires as well. So you may be able to gather some data from it. The data you might be able to gather is the variation in certain tires. So maybe, when they're doing their testing programs, they would do usually they do mediums, like that's guaranteed. And then sometimes some of them tinker with soft, some of them tinker with the hards. I think based on this allotment this season, I think they stay away from the hards as much, try to keep some of them new, but they still try it out a little bit, right? But I think Sprint Weekend will get a different allotment, so there's something also that they could try to conserve some tires through the sprint into the race itself, maybe better tire strategy for them, things to consider.
Well, I know what they provided the C2, C3, so the medium, hard, and soft. So just as Michael said, some may start on the hard, most may go the medium, and then depending on the deck, depending on how the race is going for the team, of course, it's team dependent. They may switch to the softs coming out here, or of course finish up on the medium. So far,
I would say it'd be very hard to start on the hards. Like
you're saying that.
You're tempted to start on the hards because of the deck, but at the same time, it'd probably be a bit difficult to warm up. So depending on how the sprint goes, they may get some information and data there to know that, okay, well, the hards may warm up fine. But I believe the deadline for this would be before the sprint, yeah? So we wouldn't have that information to go in with it.
Yeah, but Mike, you don't think the tires will heat up real quick because of the nature of the track? You don't think so?
Because of the high speed corners, yes. So that is where I see deck, but because the majority of high speed corners are right bends, so the weight transfer is going to be on the left side of the car, so those left tires are going to wear a lot faster. Because if you watch it, you have right turn, high speed 1 and 2. So you're taking out of the tires there. Then you have high speed right turn 6. Then you have high speed right turn 12 and 13. And then you have that hairpin into 14, which is just a quick flick. So definitely I think the left side of the car is who's gonna get it beaten more as it relates to tire deck. But the deck will be pretty high. So I think honestly, a safe tire might be the hards. If it is, you could get it into the temperature window, which is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I could see the hard tire working, but definitely the safe option is the mediums to start on, and then you go based on that. I would like to see them play with it in the practice that they have. So send out one car on medium, send out another car on hards, see what data you could gather. Definitely the sprint. It will be competitive, but it also would be a very much a data gathering exercise for all of the teams. So you might see them doing different strategies on 2 different cars. So they might start one car on softs, the other on mediums, just to see, okay, cool, how do they perform? But remember, with the sprints, you don't have to make a pit stop. So they definitely may go safer and go on the mediums and just try and run the entire sprint race. Or somebody might be a bit optimistic and hope that they could start on the softs and then they get somewhere. They could just dive in the pits, get some tires and continue running. So that is also an interesting strategy, or based on data, because we're saying that the deck is going to be high, and it quite more than likely will be, but maybe the track just surprises us, because at the same time, it is on rubber then, so grip is going to be a problem for these guys, because as we've said, it's been a while since we've raced on this track. So I think the rubber and the grip levels will be a concern. So definitely people will favor the mediums, but at the end of the day, there's only so many mediums you could bring to the track. So it will be interesting to see how things go.
If I was a strategist for somebody who was, let's say, between just under the points for the sprint, so 9 to maybe 15, I would also consider starting the sprint on maybe a hard and possibly just nurse those tires in and see if the deck is high enough where the medium itself may not be enough for the sprint and it start to die down, and then you push on the hards and maybe you might get a little bit of points off of that.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying there, and especially as Michael says, there's no obligation to pit for the sprints, 30 minutes. Yeah, why not start on the yard and full pedal down
And
the road?
just go full throttle on the
Yeah.
yards. Yeah.
Yeah, full throttle, as you say.
I
No,
would be surprised if anybody starts the sprint on soft tires, because then you're basically committing to a pit stop. Whether it is
Correct,
you're hoping to
correct.
get a pit stop on the VSC or safety car, you more than likely will have to do a pit stop.
I could see them starting us soft than a hard though. So you never know.
Correct, but it wouldn't be very wise, in all
No.
honesty.
No.
Yeah, but they have their reasons for it, and
True, but then as Jared said, the deck is going to be higher, so the tires will heat up a lot faster, especially because of the high speed nature of the track. So it would be a lot easier, quote unquote, to get the hards up to temperature. So hard actually may not be a bad shout, to be honest.
yeah, but the track needs to be rubbered in, and they only have one practice. So maybe if people starting on the hard or the mediums, the soft might give you that grip off the line to get 3-4
It
places.
would give you the grip off the line, for sure.
3-4 places, quick, and then pray for a safety car.
And then if none come, you're screwed.
Yeah, but for teams that out of the top 8 by their standard,
They might as well just play with
might
the
as well try and see it.
Yeah.
Not much to
Yeah.
lose.
I know vex with that. Now, of course, the most important thing we have to talk about previewing any race, the weather. Right. So, the most important, thankfully, it wasn't a huge issue for Japan. We were able to enjoy Japan this time, so it was good.
Not an issue here.
But the Chinese Grand Prix this weekend, of course, for the qualifying, which starts on Friday, 60% chance.
Technically, practice.
Well, yes,
is Tuesday night for us.
Yes, for us, yes. On this side of the world, this hemisphere.
Yes.
Right? That's not. I could use our time zones because they have
half past 11 in the night is practice 1, and then the race is at 3 a.m.
Right. So you see the craziness there. This is what we have to do for the sake and the love of this sport as we we enjoy.
Yeah, but after this race, we're very good. Time to
vex.
Not a time
Miami.
To
Miami. We get back to Miami and then Europe. But so
sorry, I don't know if I watch that sprint qualifying, because that is Friday.
Yeah,
morning. Man, how we go after?
No, I'll have to get up to. I'll have to get up to prepare for work. So get up, make some breakfast. Yeah, why not?
When I pull in work, I'll just have to do a rewatch.
Yeah, because that 19th, whoo. And then the night of the that's special work. The sprint qualifying, and then later at the 11 p.m. roughly. Wow. So, as I was saying, weather-wise, right? So, of course, the Friday the day that sprint qualifying is set for free practice 1 and qualifying, they're saying there's a 60% chance of rain. They're so fast, should be mostly sunny in the morning, and then a veil of clouds becoming thicker in the afternoon, increasing the chance of rain by later in the day. All right, then the sprint and qualifying. So the sprint day and the qualifying for the GP day, they're saying 80% chance of rain, wet conditions likely in the early morning with a gradual improvement, dry conditions likely in the afternoon. And then, of course, the most important day, race day, they're saying there's a 20% chance of rain, misty and cloudy with low clouds in the morning. Brighter sky and dry conditions likely in the afternoon.
So could we get the local times? Because the weather you're reading. So if you go to track time on the top there. Because
I just go based on the day. I don't call in times, just on what they schedule for.
Yeah, but if you go to the track times on the top there. Because you seeing that there's chances of rain that's very high on 2 days, but those are for the morning. That's the morning at the local time.
Right, and that's why I also shout out the afternoon thing, because they say in the afternoon is they spoke about the morning and afternoon. But what happened in the morning could continue. Remember, nothing is set in stone. If it starts raining in the morning, it could stay, or they said it could dry out in the afternoon. That's what they predicted.
Or
That's
You
what
don't
I
realize
was.
we
Renato.
use our wetter intermediate tires for the season yet, right?
No, nope. Let's
And I
stay that
want
way.
to.
Let's stay that way. I know you wanted. I wanted bad too. I want Lance Stroll to show you all how amazing he is, but
He's
that's a
not
whole
amazing
different.
anyway. Come on, sir. Behave
Hey,
yourself.
he's an amphibian, bro. I will not have yours. He's an amphibian. He was very good in the wet, bro. Of course, Lewis is wet lord. You know.
Exactly. That's why I want to in.
No, I mean, yeah, but watch this. He Stroll and even Ocon. Ocon not terrible in the rain, you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you all don't understand. Max is so good in urine, and you don't even need to mention Max is good in urine. He's just good in everything.
I wouldn't put Max in that category.
He's
Max
not
is
wet,
just a
but
good,
he could drive
yeah,
anywhere.
yes, he
I've
could.
never
That's it.
seen him struggle very much in the wet.
I mean, I will always give Max his thing because his debut year, matter of fact, his debut race, I think it was 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix. He got some hydroplaning, car went 90 degrees to the wall, and he was able to save it and bring it back on the last corner. And I think that's one of the things that solidified his name as a bright rising star. But to say he's a rain master like Schumacher and Lewis, no.
I mean, he's not Orlando Norris, but
Lando Norris, Russia.
Definitely not Nolan Norris, but nah, he is good. But just for me, you know, as the guys that Michael mentioned, you know, but of course he has shown us how good he is in the wet. Yeah, maybe two more wet condition wins, and then I'll big him up as wet lord. But for now, but he does have it. He does have it. Obviously, he can't be that good and not be able to handle wet, right? So let's make some final decisions on this team before we lock off and wind off here. What we want to do, or you want to wait, you message me tomorrow morning. We get some news or early the Friday morning of, and then we post it up on Instagram. Let me know. But
I
you can deliberate.
say Science for Leclerc.
All right. Okay, doing it.
my vote is leave it as is. So
All right.
up to you to decide.
No, so we'll have 21 and we have the money for him. Why not? Let's do it. I'll do it. Any constructor changes though?
If it is your take out Mercedes, what you'll have? What options you'll have?
21.7. We could get Ferrari. We could get Aston Martin. Yeah, Ferrari. Anything lower down, but we could get Ferrari.
So here this thought might go. Why don't we bring in Ferrari, take out Sainz and bring in either McLaren or Mercedes driver?
I actually don't. That's actually a good idea. So take out Sainz, put in Ferrari, and then you could get a Norris. So you could get
Who said that earlier in the show, boy? Who said that earlier in the show, boy? Wait. But I joke. Yeah,
no McLaren, Ferrari.
No McLaren. Ferrari.
I just wilding earlier. I was waiting to see if anybody. I thought I should have bring it I should have bring it up somebody or something just for wildness. All right, good. Driver wise now.
So how much Norris is? Norris is 20.8.
So you could only afford Piastri, or we could have no right, or we could still afford Sainz. So let's double up. I know we try not to.
Yeah, we're not doubling.
So Piastri, because you can't afford Lando unless you go. But definitely should have some kind of Ferrari representation in the team.
I actually don't mind going Lewis for this, to be honest.
Yeah, I could back my boy, you know. If he want to go with his favorite driver, we can back it.
All right. Okay. I'm with
and you bank some money for the next weekend.
Yeah, 1.9. All right. I'm not vexed with it. So let me just wrap it up quick. So this is the YouTube team for this weekend. Are we leaving the double on Max?
Well, we have nobody else to put it on, so...
Barring any unforeseen circumstances.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances. Hey, we need that juice, you that.
Right. So Max should this correct me, please, Michael. Would this be his first win at China?
Max?
If this will be his first win, right? His first win.
Yeah.
It
could be his first win.
Man say will be his first win.
Right. I'm glad Ishmael picked up my wording. My wording, this will be
his first win.
Could be his first. Could be his first win.
Will be his first win. So, let me, of course, click save. Guys, please continue. In this instance, confirm. Do not get distracted. You're fixing up your team. Make sure you confirm. This applies to
So
all
this
fantasy.
way, when Leclerc comes first, nobody could tell us that we wanted to take out Leclerc and bring Sainz because we had Ferrari to cover boots.
We cover the Ferrari for both. So when there's a Ferrari 1-2, we have it one time. Right. And in saying that, before we end up the show, I want predictions. So podium predictions. Start me off, Ishmael. Podium predictions.
I don't know what to say about Checo, boy. This man, he don't have more confidence, but he played in the performances. So at this point, I have no reason to take him out. So Max will be one until anything changed to the car that drastically changes the performance, which is unlikely. So Max first. Checo has the performances, and until the performances change, I will leave him there right now. So he's 2. So the only prediction, quote unquote prediction that I really make coming down right now is who is the third person to come in. And I would say I would go with Sainz. He's been there. He seems to be there. Ferrari seems to be there. I don't really foresee anybody really pipping it over Ferrari. So it's really a matter between Leclerc and Sainz for me. I think Sainz will have the fight in him a little bit more. He has more opportunity to overtake, given that there's the sprint as well to get points as well. So, we'll see. But Max, Checo, Sainz in that order.
Max, Checo, Sainz. Right. Before I go to Michael, I want to thank everyone for watching and viewing. Guys, please, whatever platform you're on, Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, drop a like, share it for us. If you like the content, leave a comment. Let us know what what you thought about our breakdown, our opinion, our team, what you would do differently. The code is running across your screen. You can join our league. It is open. Let us know what you think about the show. And of course, don't forget, check out our other programs. We have, of course, FPL, UCL content. Right, Michael, your podium predictions.
Max, 1. Sainz 2, Leclerc or Lewis 3.
No, you can't bring an O. No. When you're doing podiums, you can't have no O.
All right, I like it. No O. I take in that, Ishmael. No O. It's not boats. There's cars. No O. Right? Let me hear.
Unless you're in full. Unless you're in full, we can hear O.
Oh, true.
Fine. So let's do it like that then. Max 1, Sainz 2, Leclerc 3, and in the event of rain, Lewis 3.
Fine, I can take that. So I'm done with Checo. No faith at all.
No faith in all.
Same here, but the man playing here.
Honestly, I believe this is his last season. If we're being quite honest, no disrespect to him, he's a accomplished driver,
of course.
But I think him going to Red Bull being paid. I mean, granted, Red Bull was his only option, but going Red Bull to be paired with Max, it would have, 1, destroyed his self-confidence as a driver, and 2, he's been made to play second fiddle, because remember, he left Racing Point, where he was number 1 driver over Stroll, to go to Red Bull, where he was number 2. Entire first season there, he was performing, and then slowly you've seen him decline, because just he's been compared to and is being compared to one of the best drivers in the sport at this current time.
The best driver in the sport at this current time. No sugarcoating.
I said one of the best drivers in this current time. So long as Lewis Hamilton is on the grid, he will still and forever be the GOAT. Give him a good car to racing. Sorry.
Okay, well, we had to consider the car as well. So, yeah.
Now we're talking about drivers.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Drivers, yeah.
The best driver car combination in the sport right now.
Okay, cool. Sure, I could accept that. But as you say, driver, Max is one of the best drivers in the sport at this time.
At this current point, yes.
Yes, in this era of
correct.
So yeah, I would definitely say Max 1, Sainz 2, Leclerc 3, Lewis 3 if there is rain.
Okay. All right. So I'll give in. All right, let's. I want to do it all as well, but I will leave the Max, right? So Max, I'm not feeling it, but I will leave Max. So barring anything unforeseen, Max 1. I'm seeing Sainz 2 and Lando Norris 3.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
I actually
but
thought about that
Where's
too,
he
but
go? Where's
I
he
don't
go?
think he will be up there.
yeah, I can
Where's he
see it.
go?
And the or, I can see. No, for some reason, I don't know why I feel like something will malfunction with Red Bull. And if that happens, if something unforeseen happens, right, I can see in the or, I'm seeing signs, maybe a signs 1, Leclerc 2, and then Lando. I still have
Okay.
Lando in top
I can
3.
accept it. I can accept it.
Yeah, I don't know why I feel something
We
with
really
this.
just Jared and I just chose Carlos. I mean
Checo.
Checo boy.
Disrespectful.
Nah, I love Checo. Just
I
no,
love
but
Checo.
it's-
He's just not performing.
no, but,
He,
but
he
see,
not is performing.
no, but it's not his fault, you know. As
He
your
has been.
highlight,
I don't understand which race this
I mean,
season he
coming
hasn't
second is
performed.
the next coming
Yeah.
second in the fastest guy is not winning.
but remember,
Yeah,
it's not his fault. He has to. That's in his contract now. He can't outshine Max. It's in the contract now, so it's not his fault. So I can't say anything bad about him. I really can't.
You had to understand at the same time too. What you're talking about second place? He has been coming second. Who you think gonna come second?
He doing his thing.
He's gonna come second again.
He doing his thing.
You're a disrespectful boy.
No, it's not us as Red Bull, but that's a whole different ball game. And before we move on, I just want to take a look at I like to take a look at the our standings, what's happening at the moment. Okay, so you're seeing, do I have to bring it up or you'll see? You're seeing. Yes, it's up. Good. So far, right, Max with 77 points. So this is after give all our races so far, the current standings after Japan. So of course, Max first, 77 points. Sergio Perez, 64. Charles Leclerc. Sergio Perez with 64. Charles Leclerc.
Would Tini Malcolm second in the race, right?
Charles Leclerc, 59. I mean, he's a Mr. Defensor. If he starts well, you never know. But with all that overtaken,
I'm gonna put a little shout here. If something unforeseen happen, Checo 1.
Okay, Checo 1. All right, taking it. So when Max engine fails, 1. All right, Checo 1. All right. Carlos Sainz 4th with 55. Lando Norris 37 on 5th. Oscar Piastri in 6th on 32. George Russell 7th with 24. Fernando Alonso 24 in 8th. Lewis Hamilton in 9th with 10. And then, of course, Lance Stroll with 9 points in 10, rounding off the top 10 there. Beautiful things we like this. Well, I like to see, not other haters, but I like to see that. And then, of course, we're just talking about the top 3 constructors. So, of course, Red Bull racing and leading the way, 141. Ferrari second with 120, and then McLaren 69. So solid there too. So that's our standing so far. That's our show. Ishmael, I'll leave you the closing remarks before I go to Michael. Then we sign off. Any closing, anything you want to leave us with? Anything you saw in the news, any headlines, anything at all before we sign off? Before we hop on.
Not at all. My closing remarks is something that we say all the time, but it is more applicable this weekend more than most. Deadline, save, deadline.
Yeah. Pick up. Michael?
Yeah, I support that fully, and I would say just sit back and enjoy the race. You will not watch any front of the pack, just enjoy the race and focus on the middle pack. If it is you have the F1 app and you could change where you're watching, watch the middle of the race because it will be the most enjoyable part of it.
Yeah, that mid-fight will be lit. I fully agree. Of course, I want to thank everyone for watching. Hope you all get all the points you all desire. If you want to use your chip, the negative chip is a decent suggestion there from Ishmael. I really like that suggestion. Good shout. And yeah, we'll see you all in the next one. Have a great GP. Set your alarms because if you're on this side of the world, for those who in Asia and stuff, let me see who else. Maybe Oceania. It'll be easy for you guys, but Europe and this side of the world, pressure. But we do it when we have to wake up to watch our football teams do it. So why not? We could do it for a race, man. Right, Michael?
For sure.
But normality will be creeping in very soon. Miami follows, and then all your 9 a.m. races that you guys like. So very soon you won't have to say. But of course, we will benefit, and then of course the ones in Asia will have to adjust. But so it goes. All right. So thanks everyone for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Help us be on the algorithm radar as we push to try and be #1 choice for fantasy content. Take care, guys. See you in the next one. Happy picking. Take care.